Welcome to the podcast. The focus is on environmental sustainability, education, AI, and beyond. In today's episode, I had the pleasure of speaking to Favour, London School of Economics student and public speaker. Favour and I crossed paths on a common project. This was the Teenage Retrospect podcast, which can be found on YouTube. I'll link that in the description. He shared his insight on their experience with gap year travels and learnings, interest in social mobility, A-levels and respective frameworks for dealing with setbacks. Well, and lastly, his future ambitions. Since then, I have been inspired by his journey, and I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I did. I've got the last part out. Hello. Hi, Favour.
Hey, Don.
It's so nice to see you, and I just wanted to go straight into it and ask, how have you been since we last spoke?
Man, what a question. I have been great. By the grace of God, I've been happy. I'm excited to start a new chapter in my life. So I'll give a brief background. I'm just coming out of a gap year now. I took a gap year initially because I wasn't super happy with my A-level results last year. So I decided to reapply to universities, retake all 3 exams. Probably shouldn't have retaken all 3, but that's a different story for another day. So, following results day this year, I am much happier with my grades. I achieved AAA, which I'm pretty happy about. I'm going to be starting at LSE. I'm moving in 3 days, actually. So it's kind of hectic right now. But yeah, I'm happy. I think I didn't expect myself to be this pleased and this calm, considering I missed my Oxford offer twice. I think for a lot of people that could have been devastating or make them give up on anything and everything. But I think I'm happy and I'm proud of myself because I took a risk by taking a gap year. So many people, even my own mum, said that I shouldn't do it. Her objection was more a place of concern, and she thought I'd lose my excitement for education. But a lot of people said I shouldn't do it. Universities don't like retakers. Reapplication, you're not going to have a lot of support. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard and this and that. And I didn't let that discourage me. I knew what I wanted and I knew what I didn't want. I didn't want to go with the insurance that I had last year, which was King's. It's a great university, but I wasn't personally in love with it. So I took a risk on myself. And that, despite this year not having the outcome that I, ultimately wanted, which was economics and management at Oxford, I'm so happy that I took that risk because I can always look back and know that I didn't leave myself with that what if. Oh, what if I retook? What if I reapplied? I'm never going to have that because I took that risk. I took that chance on myself. No one can take that away from me. And it's always going to be a source of pride for me. So yeah, I'm super excited. Life recently, I've been going to the gym a lot, which has been really fun and, exciting. Like I said, I'm moving in soon, so buying a few bits and bobs here, talking to loads of LSE freshers, meeting up with a couple, spending time with my family before I leave. Just come back from a bit of traveling around Europe. So honestly, life is so good right now, and I'm very, very happy. Thank you for asking.
Thanks so much for taking the time to, 3 days before. I still have luckily 9 days. I can't imagine. I still haven't started packing, so
I have and that's it. Honestly, I'm gonna take my clothes, enough food to last me a week, and I'll figure out the rest later.
I'm really glad you shared that information because I wasn't aware that you applied twice. Which that's that I want to get into that as well. And some of the questions I'm hoping to also ask about the. Which might be quite peculiar in a way, but societies that you're hoping to join as well at the university. If you have any ideas.
John, your camera has cut out. I don't know if you're aware.
Oh.
It's a black screen for me right now.
That's interesting. Let's just wait a second. For me it's on. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just can't. It's just a black screen for me.
I blended into my background.
Yeah, maybe. That's pretty weird.
That is quite unusual. I can see it going on.
Can you still see me?
I think, yeah, everything looks fine on my part. I think we can carry on. I think it's recording both of our screens. I'm not sure
As
why
long
that
as you
happened
can
on
see
your.
yourself and it shows up in the final recording, I don't personally mind. So obviously we can cut this bit out, but it's all good.
Sure. Awesome. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I was aware. Thank you.
Sorry?
Yeah, so I'm curious that in terms of societies that you're perhaps looking at, you mentioned freshers.
Yeah.
So you're in the midst of this. Do you have any idea what societies you want to be involved in at university?
I mean, oh, you're back on screen, right? In terms of societies, obviously LSE is known as like a big career focused place. So I'll definitely be joining one or two career societies. Notably, it's called the Big Society. I'm not entirely sure what it stands for. Something investment group maybe, but I guess that's the more like financy consulting society. So hopefully get a committee position on there. Looks great for the CV. Nice little leadership position. But aside from career societies, I'm really excited to try volleyball. I haven't actually really played much of it, but university is all about trying new things. And I watched this volleyball anime that I really love, so why not? I might try a bit of basketball. I want to revisit that. I haven't played in years. And in terms of cultural societies, I'm definitely joining ACS. Has to happen.
What's that, sorry?
African
ACS.
Caribbean Society. Yeah,
Right.
so super excited for that. Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to Freshers Fairs and I'll walk around. I'll see what else interests me. But yeah, I'm going to keep an open mind and just try as much as I can.
Awesome. Looks good and sounds good. I'm actually curious also, we mentioned previously off camera, this is about your interest in social mobility, and I'm curious to, just to be quite frank, we had this conversation previously, and if you don't mind, Favour saying that, me saying that, that there is no expectation for having the best answer for this, since we had an answer previously.
Off camera, I gave such a great answer. I don't know if I'll be able to replicate it, but I'll try my best.
Yes, so the question really is, in terms of how your views on social mobility has changed, and or what you're planning to do during university.
Yeah, so social mobility has always been a big thing for me. I didn't really understand or know what the term meant until maybe about year 12 or so. All I knew is that as early as year 10, I had mentors who believed in me, who showed me opportunities, who showed me what it was like to have a successful career and, good academic success. Once again, I didn't know what that was because I didn't have, loads of advantages when I was growing up, but I know how it impacted me. And now that I'm going into university, there's going to be a whole host of opportunities to be that mentor for other people, other less advantaged students who may not have access to an abundance of resources. So currently, in terms of the social mobility space, I'm currently working with this charity called Speakers Trust. They do the Speak Out Challenge all over London and Essex, so a few viewers who live in those places might be aware of it. I went through the program in year 10. I won my regional finals, which I still speak about all the time. I thought it was an amazing experience. And now I'm sitting on the other side of the table. I've judged different events. Recently, I was helping recruit new trainers who go into the schools to deliver workshops to students. And, that is all about building the confidence of young people, giving them a voice, letting them know that they can speak and be heard. And I'm very passionate about that. So public speaking, social mobility, that's one aspect of what I'm involved in. I very recently signed up to be a mentor in this company called Bridge the Gap Year. And, as someone who's just coming off of a gap year, I know that I went to a very good sixth form, so I had quite a few opportunities for mentorship and support, which I'm very lucky about, very lucky with. But I'm aware that not a lot of students do, particularly those from, less advantaged backgrounds. So I would love nothing more than to be the person who can help them and guide them through. After results day, obviously I posted my, progress and journey on LinkedIn. I must have had 25 plus students DM me saying, hey, results day didn't go as planned. I'd love if you could give me some advice. and I replied to every single one of them. Funny.
You were going through this at this time as well, right? You were coming off this same experience, right?
Yeah,
At
I
that
was
time.
in the same position. I missed my offer grade, so I also didn't have as good a results as I needed to. But I think because this was my second year going through that, I didn't. Obviously, I wasn't going to retake again. I already had my insurance place at LSE. We can get more into that later. So I didn't necessarily need any support, but I had been through it before, so I wanted to be there to support them. Funny story, there was this one student, and I woke up to 19 questions in my LinkedIn DMs, just all about the retake process. And I was like, oh my goodness, this guy. But hey, I answered all of them, and he was very grateful. And I love helping people. I love being a mentor. That's not going to change. It's one of my core principles. And I think social mobility is a wonderful thing. And I can't wait to get more involved in it at university.
Awesome. I just I found it quite interesting actually that people do prefer to talk to their peers about the experience rather than going through the googling these questions, and it's like it's something to maybe latch onto. I'm not sure, like a story that someone you can already relate to, like yourself, that person that messaged you those 19 questions, or it's like it's sort of a comforting feeling perhaps, to have 19 questions.
Love, but hey,
Yes,
good for him, man. He's seeking the resources that he needs. So
absolutely. Yeah. And specifically about, so you mentioned the twice that you went through this process of having to retake. I'm curious. I'm actually very curious about the thought process that when you initially, you were actually even just slightly before that, how you felt about those exams. I think we're speaking at that time, and yeah, on Discord I remember, and you told me after one of the exams it went well, and it looked good. That's what I remember. Is like initially, my focus is like, there's no doubt in my mind that you were able to achieve those results. And I'm curious about how you truly did. You feel that truly at that point that I got this, or was it unsure? How was that initially before you got the results to it?
yeah, great question. I felt confident last year, so I guess sitting exams in 2022. That's the period we're talking about now. I did feel confident. I thought if I did meet the grades, I would only just meet the grades. I wasn't expecting AAA star. I was just expecting like barely A star AA. And I thought that I did well enough to achieve that goal. So I wasn't lying when I said I was confident about the exam. I think sometimes we can overinflate it, we can underestimate it, but I think I was fairly confident. And I guess me being eventually just 4 marks off the grades that I needed, shows that I guess I was right to be as confident. But obviously, sometimes it just doesn't pan out the way you expect it to.
Right. And feeding from that, I suppose, is when you actually got the results, what were the thoughts, emotions? Because this is quite interesting to me, because this is almost like it is an opportunity. It's of course such an opportunity, but this is, I don't know how you got it, perhaps through an envelope or online, but you're looking at this as the future essentially. Within that paper, it's like, there it is. What was going through your mind at that point?
Great question. I was on holiday at the time when I opened my results. Yeah, I was in Tuscany.
You were like, I'm
I just got out of the pool. I was just like chilling. I was in Tuscany, Italy, with a very, very good friend of mine. And it was results day for both of us. He went into one room, I went into another. He was expecting. He had an offer to study maths at Cambridge, so and he needed 4 A stars. So the pressure was on for him. Spoiler alert, he got the grades. He's going into second year at Cambridge now, so super smart guy. Great for him. I needed A star AA, and I was sitting there. I opened my grades online through my school's intranet portal, and I saw AAB. I said, dang. I said, wow. And to rub salt in the wound, I checked the grade boundaries, and I was 1 mark off the next grade, from the B to the A that I needed. And I was 3 marks off the A to the A star that I needed. So a total of 4 marks. In terms of what was rushing through my head, disappointment, disbelief, not quite understanding the situation I was in. It was a lot. And obviously, like I said, my friend actually met his offers and got into Cambridge at the time. And, when he came to ask me what I got, I told him I didn't get in. So for the next few days or so, he had to kind of turn down his excitement, which just made me feel bad. Because obviously he didn't want me to feel bad. So it was a whole host of things. I wasn't at home. I didn't have my family to support me. His family did an amazing job of doing so. But yeah, it was a hard time. I think it was a lot harder than the second time around. But yeah, that's how I was.
Right. Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, that is a hard. I wondered since you didn't, when that leading up to it, and from the previous question and the moment that happened, I suppose, did you ask why, or how could it have happened, or what? Did you have that going through your mind? That's all, or it was more like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're in a situation like that, it's very easy to try and find something to pass the blame onto. Oh, I was in school during COVID, and we had lessons disrupted, and no, that's why I didn't make my grades. Nah, I mean, yes, I'm not understating that COVID disrupted people's education, of course, and I was in a much better position than most, considering the school I went to and the support they gave us. But I believe in taking radical responsibility of everything that happens in your life. So if I did ask why, I knew the answer just came down to me. I could have worked a bit harder. Yes, I was going through a tough time at school at the time. And perhaps I did have something to contribute to it, but I do believe I could have worked harder. Maybe getting my offer for Oxford made me a bit complacent, maybe a bit hubristic, perhaps. And maybe I thought, because I was aiming in a way for the bare minimum, and my bare minimum was A star AA at the time, instead of aiming for triple A star, and then, if I don't have such a good day, then, worst case, I get A star, A star, A. I think in my complacency, I aimed for the bare minimum as opposed to shooting for the moon and landing amongst the stars somewhere, as the saying goes. So, to concisely answer your question, yes, I asked myself why, but I also answered my question, and the answer was me.
Right. No. And that's probably the truth. It's essentially truth there. That is.
I think it's the only answer. It's the best answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose in that case, jumping forward, the next time around, or rather, the plan after that. What do I need to do to mitigate this from happening again? Taking that this was you could say, I could have done something differently. What would that be? That for the next time around.
Well, whatever I ultimately did do differently didn't work. So no, I just yeah, I had quite a few things that I knew that I needed to do differently. Particularly in economics, which I got my B in. I knew that I didn't have complete mastery over the content, so that was a big to-do list for me. That was a big thing on the to-do list, and I did exactly that. I went straight back to the beginning. I switched exam boards, actually, which was probably for the best, actually, but I had a whole host of new content to learn, and I learned all of it back to front. I knew that because econ is an essay subject and I wouldn't be at school, I'd be studying independently for the next gap year. I knew that I needed some type of support, so I got a tutor. My mum, made big sacrifices helping me to pay that off. So those were two big things that I knew that I needed, and I made sure to do that. And I think those were the main things. I was fairly confident in my strategies for maths and biology, which are my other two A levels that I retook, and I stuck with those. I got A's in both of them again. Hence why I don't even think I should have retaken them at all, to be honest. I think I should have maybe just retaken economics. And
that's an interesting choice. Why you chose to do that? Actually, that you took all three of them. Again,
I can tell you my thought process behind that. Actually.
Yeah.
So I was reapplying to Oxford again, and in my head I thought, oh man, if they see that I'm retaking all three A levels, so I could potentially go from AAB to A star, A star, A, or triple A star. Wow, they'd be so impressed. Rather than only retaking the subjects I got a B in, then my max potential grade would be A star, AA. So I thought that them seeing me wanting to retake all three would show that my grade ceiling would be a lot higher. Therefore, they'll be maybe more inclined to give me an offer. Whether or not I would have gotten an offer if I only decided to retake economics, we'll never know. So I don't fully regret my decision, but having known other students in my exact position of getting an offer, missing an offer, and retaking, and then getting an offer again, I know one student who only retook one subject, and he got the offer. He ultimately met the offer. So I know that it's possible to only retake one and still get the offer. Hence why I'm like, was it the best decision? But hey, it happened, and that's it's in the past now. But to get back on track in terms of what to do differently, it was mostly econ that I knew I needed to work on differently. I was pretty happy with my strategy for the other two, hence why I got the same grades in the other two again, I guess. So yeah.
Right. It sounds like to me that you wanted to prove something there, that this was a one-off here, and not to, how should I say, not to the second time, of course, but but at that time,
I was 1 mark off the grade I needed for economics the second time. I was 1 mark off an A star. So from a B to an A star, almost, it's not a bad result at all. So the things I did do differently definitely worked. Just 1 mark less than they needed to, but that's okay. I'm happy with my progress.
Right. And just jumping forward, and that time, when the second time did happen, what was that 1 mark sort of? At that time, it was more of like, because I'm curious, as you took the steps prior, and that 1 mark kind of seems comical in a bit, it kind of seems like
it's so funny. I think it's hilarious. Yeah, so the second time, I was initially 5 marks off. I got a remark and I came up to 1 mark. And the funny thing about that is I remarked all 3 papers. I went up 1 mark in paper 2. I went up 4 marks in paper 3. So I went up 5 marks that I needed, but I went down 1 mark in paper 1. So if I just didn't remark paper 1, I would have met the grade.
You asked all 3 papers to be marked.
Yeah, I asked for all 3 because you don't know where you can get the extra marks. So I just thought I'd do all 3. So I thought that in itself, I find it funny. And obviously, I appealed to my college in Oxford. It was Merton College. Am I gonna get in trouble for saying? Anyway, doesn't matter. It was Merton College, and unfortunately, they weren't able to accept my appeal to get the place anyway. I understand it could be unfair if they let one person in who hasn't met the grades and they've said no to so many other people. I get that they have a standard to uphold, so I don't hold that against them. But yeah, was your question how I felt the second time?
Yeah, it was that 1 mark, and after getting that result, basically, given that you tried everything there, and that 1 mark is just like, because it's essentially the same thing again. You asked that, how can I improve? How can I do better? And that 1 mark, it seems to be it is comical for sure, and I'm just curious about that.
Yeah.
After you marked the 3 papers, like it was remarked the 3 papers.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that I definitely worked hard. Me getting the grade I did, or I guess falling short of the grade I did, isn't necessarily because I didn't put the work in. Of course, we can always work harder. We can always, put in another revision session. And perhaps if I did, I would have met the grade. But sometimes things just don't work out. And it was, like I mentioned earlier, it was a lot easier to process and handle this time around for quite a few reasons. One, because regardless of the outcome, I took the risk. I got rid of that what if, and I'm just ultimately proud of myself for doing so. But the second reason, because I was so happy with my insurance choice of LSE. And it's weird to even say that LSE was my insurance choice because it's so many people's firms. It's like their ultimate dream. And I remember on results day saying, oh man, I missed my offer and I'm going to LSE, almost as if it's a bad thing, but that's such an amazing outcome. And I'm so blessed to have had offers from both LSE and Oxford. So first reason, proud of myself for taking the risk. Second reason, I now had an insurance offer that I was excited to go to. And I guess third reason, my grades improved overall. So apart from just, grades improving to get into university, I want to go into a career in finance, and having good A-level grades, especially in the early stages, is a good thing. So not having any B's on my plate and just having AAA just looks better for me. So I was happy about that as well. Yeah, it was a difficult day at first, but the sadness didn't last long at all because I had so many other reasons to be happy.
Like trying your best, essentially, was that.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. I think that going on to the so that this was not okay. So the second time around this happened, and then this summer you chose to travel.
Yes,
I believe throughout since June, I think, or
yes,
or
late June. Oh, was it late July? It was late July, mid to late July. Yes.
Oh, okay, right. So I'm curious about. Okay, I'm quite curious about the places that you visited, and it's hard to say maybe why, but I'm curious about your thought process behind the travel, really. Yeah.
So I went interrailing with 3 other people from my sixth form who were all on gap years. For those of you that don't know, interrailing is essentially going. It's usually done in Europe, but it's when you go from one country to another via train, hence the rail and inter. So we went to 6 different cities. We started in Paris, then we went to Paris, France, then we went to Zurich, Switzerland, then we went to Munich, Germany, followed by Venice, Italy, then Vienna, Austria, and testing my geography here. Vienna, Austria, followed by Budapest, Hungary, finally. We spent roughly 1 to 3 nights in each. I think 1 to 2 nights? 1 to 3 nights in each. And in terms of why I went, a lot of people who last year at the end of year 13 went interrailing with their friends. And because everything was so turbulent for me, I didn't, end up going. So I thought, hey man, you've done twice as many A levels as most people. I think you deserve a trip right now. So I just said, I was invited by a friend. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's a lot more expensive than I expected, but money comes back. Experiences are forever. So I was reluctant but happy to pay the price. And I had an amazing time. In terms of why we went to the countries we did, don't have a super specific reason, but the route made sense. Apart from maybe Zurich to Munich, apart from maybe Munich to Venice, that was like an 8-hour train journey. But anyway, the route made sense. I've heard Switzerland is absolutely beautiful, and it is gorgeous place. Paris is right next door, obviously living in London, and I'd never been before. I wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. I didn't get Paris syndrome, actually. I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but so Paris syndrome is this thing where because Paris is in the media so romanticizes the city of love, the beautiful city, and so glamorized. People often go to Paris, look at the Eiffel Tower, and are significantly underwhelmed. Um, and that's like called the Paris syndrome. I didn't get that. I loved Paris. I thought it was amazing. We actually arrived on Bastille Day, which I think is like their national holiday. So there were fireworks. It was amazing. I had such an amazing time in Paris. Could actually see myself living there, honestly. I think it's great. In terms of Munich, we went to a beer hall. We got those big jugs and, the pretzels and stuff. Very like traditional, which is great. Vienna, the city of classical music. We went to an opera. We went to concerts. Incredible. I have a friend who I went with. He is going on to study biomedical sciences, I think. Was it biochemistry? Studying something at Oxford. So very proud of him. Super smart guy. And he's like a top tier violinist. He's so, so good. So he, showed us around. We went to Music Verein, which is apparently one of the most famous music halls in the world, in Vienna. And then finally, I feel like I missed something. Venice. Yes, Venice was great as well. Very hot. We got there during a thunderstorm.
Oh yeah,
I got this amazing Instagram picture of like a lightning bolt with me looking over a bridge in the water. You have to see it for yourself. It was an incredible picture.
The video too.
Yeah, the video was insane. I had such an amazing time in Venice. The food was fantastic. And then finally Budapest, beautiful. We were quite tired because it was our last destination. But we went to different restaurants there. We went around the city and it was gorgeous. So each one of the places we went to, I had an amazing time. I was with good company. I got to know the people that I went with a lot more. And I'm always going to remember this experience. So I think it was 100% worth it. And I'd recommend anyone who is able to go interrailing with some friends. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Favour, for sharing that.
Sure.
Budapest is the bias is there.
You're Hungarian, right? Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So just been actually in August myself.
No way.
It was great.
Nice.
It's lovely.
Nice.
Just going around, there's the National Museum and I think that's what it's called. And they had this really great displays of going through Hungarian like national history. I guess that's what it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lovely display, but even though I was running through it quickly, I ran out of time. I was there for a couple of hours. It's a big one. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome though. Thanks for sharing. I think for travels on my part, next year seems to be more viable in that way. But I think it's that's I'm curious about that because attaching it to when you're going with friends makes a difference. Whereas when I say I'm gonna go independent traveling, it's like okay, the part the most like how many choices you have there. It's like if there's different opinions, let's go to Munich. Yeah, let's go to Munich. And I think it makes it slightly easier as well, and company, of course. And other than that,
solo traveling is a whole different kettle of fish. You make all the decisions. You have all the experiences. Some people find it super liberating. I've never been solo traveling personally. I think it sounds like it's worth trying. I feel like it's a very unique experience. But I don't think I'm quite ready for that yet. So maybe one day.
Absolutely. Awesome. And this is going on to the questions of all of this surrounding the future, I suppose, now. Your course at university and what do you think that is the course that fit you the most, I suppose, that you want to study?
Yeah.
And you could be as honest as you like. I mean, finance, we know that it's yes.
Yeah. I guess I hate to say it, but I fit the LSE mold annoyingly well. I mean, obviously there's a lot of variation in LSE students, but the stereotype is, all finance bros and girls and, we all do that thing. And I'm studying management, 3-year course. And, I'm on the whole finance route, spring week, summer internships, all that stuff. So in terms of why I chose the course, The first year when I applied through UCAS, so back in 2020, I applied in 2021 actually, didn't I? Because you apply, yeah. So I applied in 2021. Um, I applied economics and management everywhere to 5 different universities. And at that time, I had a roughly equal split of interest between economics and management, hence my decision. However, over my gap year, I realized that I was more into the management side of things. So although I applied to E&M Oxford again, I applied to more management-y courses the second time, such as management science at UCL, um, management innovation and something else at Manchester, and obviously management at LSE. So it aligns with my interests very well. I've done work experience at a private equity firm, and the team I was in was, working with the companies they had in their portfolio and managing them to add value to the company, to increase their operations. So I've kind of seen what that kind of operational and leadership management looks like in practice. I've done work experience at startup companies where the founders have to be the jack of all trades. You know, if you're a founder at a startup, you're the cleaner, you're the marketer, you go into the pitch to raise the funding and meet the investors, you're everything, right? So I've seen what that kind of agile management looks like, and it really just interests me. I love to see what turns that grassroots startup into such a large, multinational corporation. I just love that whole business process, and yeah, the course just really aligned with that for me. I also get to take some economics courses and some, accounting courses. I guess modules is the correct word for that. So yeah, it's honestly just a really exciting course, and I can't wait for it. It also happens to align very well with my financial aspirations, because particularly the accounting modules work well for the technical questions that they ask you in interviews for investment banks and such. So I couldn't be happier with the course, honestly. It just works really, really well. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, it was never on the books, like, for you to do biology or anything like that. I mean, I've, from A level, of course, I've remembered that you had quite a interest in that, but did it not seem realistic at all in that way to take that up as...
I loved biology at GCSE at A level. I think it's such an amazing A level to take. It's so interesting just learning about nature and humans and how things work. Like right now in your body, so many processes are going on. As simple as drinking a glass of water, all the active transport that's going on in your kidneys and selective reabsorption, so many things. It's so interesting. So I absolutely loved the course, but I didn't see myself going into that for university. Although you can still study science-y subjects, you can study other humanities subjects and still go into finance. I was just a lot more interested in management and business and that type of thing. So I'm happy leaving that as something I studied up to A level, and I'm happy not taking that any further. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm quite curious about still at university in that time. What are some of the essentials, or if you have a what would you call it, a bucket list? I think that's what they call it. Yes, of course, that's what they call it. Experiences that you would like to get out of university. Like we mentioned those clubs that your societies have been involved in. You mentioned social mobility. You mentioned there's work experiences. But I'm curious if there's anything that we didn't cover there that you think that I would like to have experienced, even if it's like more related to friendships or even if it's career-wise, like the whole and like yeah.
University experience essentials, right? I want to make lifelong amazing friends at university. I'm a big extrovert. I love meeting new people. I love learning about new people. I love nurturing existing relationships. And so yeah, big people's person. I want to find people that I click with. I want to speak to people that I don't click with. I want to discuss with them. I want to get to know them. I want to know why they believe what they believe. I love this phrase. I want to understand the mosaic of each person. And I love the visual of a mosaic because it's loads of little, I guess it can be pieces of glass or just loads of little different, let's use glass for example, pieces of glass, different colors, different shapes, different sizes. And when you step back, you see the whole image, you see a whole person, and they're made up of all these little different experiences and, mentors and influences. I love that about people. They're so multifaceted, they're so diverse. So I want to meet some incredible people and make some incredible friendships at university. That's an absolute must. I'd like to travel. I've obviously done quite a bit of traveling already, and I'm excited to perhaps have a semester abroad. I don't think I'd want to do a year abroad. I've already taken a gap year. I feel like that would be a bit much. But perhaps a semester abroad, if there's scope for that throughout my course. I'd love to go traveling with some friends during breaks from term time. Whether or not that's a quick European trip or somewhere in Asia, perhaps. I haven't been to Thailand. Could try that out. So traveling, friends. I'd like to deepen my faith at university. Faith has been a big thing for me this gap year. I grew up in a Christian household. However, I kind of strayed away from that a bit, I think, during sixth form. Up until that point, I was going to church out of, I guess, obedience to my parents. When you grow up in a religious household, you go to synagogue, mosque, church, just because your parents do, and it's just something that your family does. And I think while that's, fine and okay and expected, I think there's a point in time where everyone needs to make the decision for themselves whether or not they want to keep on going with the faith. And for me, that was during my gap year. I picked up my Bible actually by myself for the first time. I booked Bible study every morning into my calendar, just to make sure that I did it. And it was a wonderful experience. All the stories and, verses I had heard growing up and just took in passively. Now I was actively wrestling with them and understanding them and reading them for myself. So at university, where there's so much, I guess, opportunity to stray away from it and, opportunity for temptation and to do things that, as a religious person, you shouldn't be doing. I think I want to use that time to really kind of knuckle down with my faith and, devote myself more to that and find an amazing Christian community. I know there's a Christian union at LSE, so I'll definitely be joining that. I'll be at those events. Yeah, so I think that's another key pillar of what I'd like to do. Finally, I want to get into a relationship, like a romantic relationship. I haven't been in one in a while. I guess maybe because I've been on a gap year and everyone's at university. But I think love is a wonderful thing. So if I could meet someone that we get along together, nice Christian girl, then then I'm there, man. I think
Awesome.
it's a nice experience to have. So yeah, hopefully we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, and I just wanted to say that the smile was more of a. It wasn't. You
mocking me,
it
Don?
was, yeah.
Are you mocking my love?
Way. No way. I relate to the finding your own people at university that you really click with. People are there for that they chose to be there, and you take part in different things together that align, and you, that's solid. I think that's really solid. And slightly off script, I'm quite curious about the faith side of things, and I'm curious about what that means to you and why you rediscovered that during your gap year.
Yeah.
Perhaps even quote if you were to quote anything to make it concrete at some points, like examples, I would appreciate. But you don't have to try and reference some of the verses and yeah.
It's a great question. I think a lot of people turn to faith during hard times. You know, you get all the time atheists who never, been to church or pray to God in their lives. When they're rock bottom, they're like, if there's a God out there, then please, like, hear my prayer. It's usually when people are at rock bottom and they're lost that they turn to faith. Although, being on my gap year, I wasn't at rock bottom or anything. But it was quite a hard and lonely time. So I guess in that same way, I decided to look towards faith. I had a calling. I don't really know what it is. Maybe I was seeing more Christian TikToks on my For You page, or maybe, I read something somewhere, or I just had a bit of a pull towards trying to learn more about my faith. And, I think there's so many things in this world that we indulge in as humans, as young people. Loads of people have lots and lots of, I guess, casual sex, for example. And, while that's up to the person, they can do whatever they like. Oftentimes you'll see people coming out of that. Maybe they feel a bit empty, or maybe they're doing that to try and fill some type of void or escape something or whatever. Excessive drinking, getting drunk all the time, same thing. Maybe they're trying to escape reality, or maybe forget about the difficult things that are going on in life. I think a lot of people are trying to fill a void that I believe only Jesus can fill. I think the Bible tells us to avoid loads of things, just like the things I mentioned, not because, God doesn't want us to have fun or have a good time or enjoy things, but because he wants to protect us. I think ultimately those things, while it may not happen the first time or the second time, but I think eventually there'll be a point where something goes wrong by indulging in those things, whether or not it's an unplanned pregnancy or alcohol poisoning or something. There are dangers associated to these things. And while, I guess I'm straying away from the reason, those aren't necessarily the reasons that I look towards faith, but after, I guess, reading my Bible and understanding the story of Jesus and, his sacrifice for us, I became a lot more aware of, I guess, these dangers and these things that Jesus is trying to protect us from. And yeah, I think it made it a lot more easier to not even want to indulge in these things, just because I know that there's something so much better waiting for me. So yeah, it wasn't a very concrete answer, but that's kind of my thought process.
Right, it's quite difficult to say. It's of course it's not one thing that this is why, and it's a multitude of things that is. I was asking because it is. I feel that is really difficult to articulate. To be honest, it is. As you're reading it, just perhaps that clicking and that feeling of what that is. It's I think, and this is kind of off script, but it doesn't matter, I suppose, because I'm quite curious about faith in general, and I personally, my ancestry, I suppose you could say that we were, at least my grandma and that sort of, Christians, and as we moved to this country, sort of that shifted and diverted, and atheism was the norm for us, and as you mentioned, it seemed to be like you picked it up by yourself, like when the calling was there for you, or the something that you felt you needed, perhaps the meaning, and it's like more individualistic as well. It's your own relationship with whatever that feeling is,
So
yeah.
Just to like latch onto that, I think you got it exactly right. It's, to me, faith, and I've been quite careful to avoid saying my religion or anything like that. I think faith is all about relationship. I think when you think of religion, you think of, oh, here are a list of rules that you can't do and all this stuff. It feels too, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember the word I'm looking for, but when it's like you believe.
Authoritative.
No, it'll probably come
Okay.
to me, but when
Sure.
you think of religion and all you think about is just the rules and just being perfect and not making any mistakes and not sinning, that's like not the way it should be. It's all about just looking for that relationship with Jesus and just spending time with him and accepting the amazing sacrifice he's made for you. And honestly, all of those things will kind of just fall into place. All of the, I guess, rules and things that you should and shouldn't do, they will just kind of all fall into place. But the main emphasis just needs to be put on the relationship that you have, which is why I kind of avoid the word religion or saying I guess I will say I'm religious because that's what people identify with, Christianity. But when really getting into it, I say I have a relationship with Jesus. So yeah.
Right. And I suppose that I just wanted to add this here. So it seems like to me when you were on this gap year, this feeling of, to me it seems almost letting some control go in that way, where like as I think this is the difficulty with atheism by itself is, and now we're going into like a bit yeah is I found this person, it's trying to create a life that you intended to have, or controlling what the outcome of your life and circumstances and decisions that arise, and that is really difficult from a place of not having, if you're like on the other, I guess you could say, when you're scientific and you're involved in all of the, how should I even say it, you call yourself you make decisions upon rationality and scientific facts, and now that is really hard to make decisions from. That seems to me difficult to try and find meaning in your own life without something that calling, that feeling. I'm also careful with not saying this is religion, or I would call it faith. I would call it something that, and that's my opinion, I suppose, because I personally experienced that, and that's why I'm quite interested in this. So I found it really fascinating you found this in a difficult time as well, when I find that really, it's not a question, it's just those are my thoughts, and feel free to add anything that you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has faith. People put their faith in different things. You have some people who religiously follow horoscopes, or they read tarot cards, or they have faith. Oh, they just trust themselves for everything. They have faith in something. Everyone has faith. However, I believe that there are certain battles in this life that you can't fight by yourself, and for me, Jesus so graciously offers to fight these battles for us as long as you just let him into your life. They're things that we can't foresee. There's so much going on that if we rely on our own understanding and our own experiences and our own power, it's just never going to work out. So yeah, once again, not really a question or not really a response to anything, but I know that I want Jesus on my side. I want him on my team, fighting in my corner. So yeah, I choose to side with him. He's already, we're all already saved. We just need to act like it. We just need to walk into that. We just need to accept it from him. So yeah.
Profound, actually. Yes. I think separately, so we could have a discussion about this. I'm quite curious. but in that case, just to ask, going on from there, and this is more related to, yeah, it's related to your being and your person and your, and I suppose, well, I suppose everything is that you're doing, but in terms of what is one thing that you think you could do better in your life, very, very generally and broadly?
Something I think I could do better.
And of course, want to.
Can I give you two things?
Of course.
Yep. First thing is be a more dedicated and attentive friend. I think by nature of being quite extroverted, I am very good in like groups of people. I can, I can bust a joke and everyone will laugh, and I can hang out in groups, and that's like perfectly fine. That's like my element. However, I found that, especially during sixth form and secondary school, because I spent so much time in groups, I overlooked the individual relationships with people. The texting individual people about their lives, or getting to really know the individual person, because I'm spending so much time getting to know the group. And what I found was, when times got tough in sixth form, and in my head I'm like, oh, I have all these friends that I can rely on, all these groups that I speak to and joke with and do all these stuff with. I have all these friends. When it really came down to it, and I needed people to rely on and people to support me, I realized, wait, I know these people, but I don't really know them, and they don't really know me, because I haven't put in that time and that work to nurture those individual relationships. Unfortunately, this is something I became aware of around year 12, year 13. So this past year, I've found my solid group of friends, and I've tried my best to nurture those relationships. I ask about their families, I visit them, I get them presents, and that's something I'm really proud of, and something I continuously want to work on. So yeah, I love the fact that I'm so extroverted and I love hanging out in groups, but I'm also now very aware that I do need to kind of find a nice small group of people and just nurture those relationships a lot more, because quality over quantity at the end of the day. So that's one thing, being a better, more dedicated friend. Second thing is being more focused. I'm on my phone a lot. Although I can have quite productive days and I get a lot done, I spend too much time on my phone. I procrastinate a lot. Obviously, when it's crunch time and when it gets down to it, I can focus, but I just want to. I don't want my phone to be something that kind of seeps into all day, every day. Like, I'm constantly picking it up, constantly checking apps and this and that. I want to be able to just focus on one thing, a piece of work, and not constantly be at the beck and call of my phone. I think that's something I really need to work on at university, especially since I want to get a first. So that's something I need to work on as well.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. I found that how crazy is that?
Don,
you mentioned that,
can you pause for a second? I need the bathroom real quick.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. All right, awesome. Yeah, so going on from your answer to from first point for presence and being a better friend, I find it quite crazy that I relate to that a lot, but I find that's so interesting that that's something that is not the norm anymore. Maybe like how we we have our phones and we're communicating with people there, but how that is, I don't know. I don't know if it was. It seems to me that traditionally it might have been a norm in the past where people would, birthdays and that sort of thing, and only in the past couple of months, I've just said to myself, yeah, I really want to try and attend to people's birthdays, because I forget my own as well. Like, and this is something that this is ridiculous. Like, but this is there for, a reason, and all of these different. Yeah, I don't want to completely separate myself from some of the traditions that have, happened. Like, we have the birthdays, we have all of these different celebrations, perhaps that maybe worldwide as well, and yeah, I really like that. Yeah, I relate to that.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I don't care all that much for birthdays. Many years it's just been a regular day. I've done my homework.
Yeah.
I've gone to the gym just like normal. My birthday's just gone, my 19th birthday. Usually I'd make a post on Snapchat or something. Everyone has like a birthday post and they say, oh, #19 or like more life or happy birthday, whatever. I didn't do that this year for the first time in many, many years because one, I don't think it's that big a deal really. And two, I realized that I post that just for loads of people who haven't spoken to me for the whole year to swipe up and be like, oh, happy birthday, Favour, and then not speak to me for like a whole nother year. And I'm like, what's the point? But instead, my close friends called me up or sent me personalized messages, and that made my heart so much more full than a bunch of random messages ever could. So, although I don't really care for birthdays that much, I know that my friends do and a lot of other people do. And I think part of being a good friend is understanding what might not be important to you is important for your friends. And that's why it should be important to you for them. Does that make sense? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Gift giving isn't one of my, it's like quite low in the terms of love languages, right? But I know that other people love gifts. So although receiving a gift or not, I'm quite indifferent. I know that for some people, it's like, wow, you thought of me. You listened to my random ramblings throughout the year and you remembered that I wanted this thing. Some people, it's like the biggest thing in the world. And if it's the biggest thing in the world for my friends, then on their behalf, it's the biggest thing in the world for me. And I think that's one of the key things about being a good friend.
Yeah. You know what? I think that's to me, it seems initially I was hesitant with these birthdays and because, oh, it's about me. Well, that's fun, isn't it? It's just about me. But now, as you're saying, yeah, it's about the people that showing care for one another and the community coming together, even if it's it's your birthday, we come together for their birthday and their birthday, and it blows my mind that how yeah, we do question everything in the 21st century, even these sorts of things. It's really crazy. So yeah. Anyway, though, I also wanted to ask about once again just the past, but it's also relating to the future now. It always is, but I suppose what is something in the past that you used to do that perhaps you would like to pick up again, or yeah.
Something that I used to do. Is this an activity or an activity? Okay.
Yeah, I would say that it's whatever you feel, of course, that it comes into mind. I left it open for that reason because I did think of initially. I thought of, from my point of view, I thought of just doing something. Yeah, it is an activity. Yeah, that's what came to mind. Yeah, absolutely.
Main thing that comes to mind is sports. Being on a gap year, I don't have sports integrated into my timetable. I don't have a playing field or a basketball court. So my exercises just mostly come from going to the gym. And I can't wait to honestly, sports day, I remember secondary school, sixth form. I don't think I'm ever happier than when I'm in sports day. I get so energetic. just seeing all the races and getting hyped and cheering on my friends and, getting in races myself, it fills me with so much energy. And I just can't wait to get back into that. So like I said at the beginning, basketball, volleyball are the two main sports I want to try out and get back into. So yeah, that's something I really want to pick up that I used to do in the past, for sure.
And the interesting part is that which as you said, you're more extroverted in that way. They're team sports,
I get so energized. Maybe like scarily so. I'm like, like I get
yes. Yes, my team. That's my team.
That's me.
I love that. Okay, this is going on to the last question, I suppose, and this is probably the one that I asked if you're okay with, because it might be the most. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. So, if it was your last 2 years on Earth, and I started the question, what would be something that you would genuinely be wanting to do or experience, or very broad, but what would 2 years is I say 2 years, but rather than a year, just to give more time, for the question, rather than saying. So,
last
what do you
2
think?
years on Earth, main thing I would do above anything else is make sure my relationship with God is on point. Because a lot of people say that, oh, what's the point of being like super close to my faith now when I'm young? I want to experience everything and, have fun. And when I'm old and grey, then I'll just, get closer to God. But the issue with that is you never know when you're going to die. You could die tomorrow and, but you plan to get close with God later, but now you don't have later. Like, tomorrow's never promised. So that's why that argument fails. But if I know that I'm dying in 2 years, I mean, I'd imagine that I had been a committed Christian up to that point anyway. But especially so, if I know when I'm going to die, I'd be like, people say, oh yeah, me and God are like this, like we're like this, like one and the same. So I'm not saying I'm God, but like I'd be really close with him is what I'm trying to say. Because if I don't have that, then like my eternity isn't guaranteed. I'd end up in hell. So anyway, that's like first and foremost. My other responses depend on what I've done in life up to that point. If I'd spent my whole life, working in finance and, maybe not really seeing my kids that much or not paying much attention to my family and this and that, then that would be my top priority. I'd leave the job, live on my savings, and just make sure I have quality, rich experiences with my family and my children, my friends. Because often when you work in such a high hour job like finance, all of that stuff kind of slips. So I'd definitely do that. I travel the world. The world is so, so big. And one of the reasons I, really wanted to go to Oxford is just to get out of London. I've lived in London mostly my whole life. Although it's still in England, still in the UK. I think the world is too big to stay in one place forever. And there's so much of the world I haven't seen. So if I have 2 years is just about enough time to travel the world and see most of it. So from Antarctica to New Zealand to Barbados, I want to go everywhere, see everything. So I'd definitely do that.
Who are you with?
I'll do a mixture. I'll do some family trips, some friend trips. I'll try solo trips as well. I'll try all the different forms. Trips with random people, backpacking, you name it. I'll do all of it. I think that will take up my 2 years. I'd love to say, I mean, there's no point solving world hunger or anything because we're all going to die in 2 years anyway. But, or like global warming because we're all going to die. But yeah, I'd do those 3 things: faith, family, travel. I was looking for an F word for travel to have like a nice alliteration, but travel. There you go.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I could say, yeah, I like that response or something. It's hard to say. It's like, that's awesome because it came from Yeah, that's I really like that answer, because I mean it doesn't matter. I mean that's the honest answer. That's true. I mean, whatever, because it's not like what should I say, you're doing what matters to you, and you're not worried about any sort of race against anyone and anything like that. It's who's around you, who's
We have 2 years to
yeah.
live, man. Nothing else matters. That's it. If at that point
Mm.
you're still not living for yourself and like not doing what you want to do, then come on, man. What's the point? What's the
Was
point?
just gonna say that. Was just gonna say that. What would that mean if we lived our lives like we had only 2 years left?
What a question! Wow, it's a phenomenal question. I think that people wouldn't wear masks as much. You know, there's so much anxiety about what will they think of me? What if they say this? What if they say that? If we're all gonna die in 2 years, who cares? No one cares. Just do what you want to do, live your life the way you want to live it, and just be unapologetically who you are.
Hmm.
I think that's how people would behave. In terms of, I think it'd be a disaster on a like geopolitical scale, because if things are gonna if we're all gonna die in 2 years, factories won't care about reducing their carbon emissions. They'll just go crazy. The world would probably die because the ozone layer is like too hot to kill us or whatever. I think that's probably why we'd die. So that would be terrible. I think a lot of like systems, like maybe the financial sector and this and that, everything would go to crap because no one cares about keeping everything in order because we're all going to die anyway. But I do think people will be authentically themselves. And maybe the reason why financial system will go into disaster and the geopolitical scene would go really bad is because people are being themselves. People aren't trying to put up a pretense of, oh, I care about the environment or I care about financial security. They're just going to be like, hey, all gloves are off. We're going to do what we want. I think humans are motivated by self-interest. Getting a bit economical here, Homo economicus. So I think when there's no pressure to live up to other people's expectations or judgment, people will just ultimately return back to just being their pure selves, and you'll really get to see what people are like. So that's my answer in terms of what people would do if we had 2 years to live. If people lived like that now, then for the most part, I think the world would go into chaos, to be honest. But we'd be our authentic selves. So
yeah, I often think about this because I'm actually not sure if, yes, we are self-interested, but if we are able to live our lives how we would want to, I feel like eventually we would almost inevitably want to focus on others at that point, because if we're so, like I feel up to a point where you're doing what you become so. I feel that you'll become grateful. I think you'll be grateful that you're in touch with yourself, and some I had a friend that, or I have a friend rather, that who said he thinks of it in the opposite way. Like I thought that if we are in touch with ourselves, we're able to get in touch with others too. That's why I feel like people can be, or mostly are, disconnected in perhaps in the 21st century. But then he said maybe because we're disconnected from us is the reason why we're disconnected from ourselves. So it's like, either or, but it's I feel like it's a good question still to see, and I do wonder how that would change the you mentioned geopolitical in that way. I do wonder, and if that would make things better or worse, in terms of would we have structure at that point? Would we want to have structure?
I'm not
Good question.
denying that humans are altruistic and they want to help other people and they want to be generous and helpful. But I think that if people knew that there were only 2 years left to live, or how,
Oh, I forgot that assumption. Of course, yes, you're right. You reminded
because
me.
you even
Right.
you
Yes.
started off by saying, oh, people would come together eventually, but there isn't an eventually. There's just like a 2 years, right?
Yes.
So that's why I have such a cynical approach to it, I think, because, even something as simple as, oh yeah, go ahead, go and stand in front of me in line. People won't care. Like, no one cares about upholding their image or anything, because we're all going to die anyway. So I think people would be very selfish and honest and brutal and not dance around things and get straight to the point, because you don't have time to waste.
Interesting. Yeah. You
forgot the main
assumption. My own question. Yeah, the question got me. So your answer was perfect. I forgot my own question.
It's all right. It's all good.
Awesome. I think that was a really good question to end up on. I'm gonna go away.
Well,
and
you think your own
for
question
next...
is really good?
No,
Bit of bias.
no.
Okay.
Your answer, yeah.
I completely agree with you, man. It was an awesome question.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go away and think about that for 2 or 10 more years about that question. So, all right. So it's been. I'm really grateful to have this conversation. It's been really good.
It's been awesome.
And your composure, and your ability to articulate it very clearly and concisely, I'm learning from. I can't do it just yet, and it inspires me. You've given the speeches, I've seen on LinkedIn, and you're in this suit and everything, and it's like, my God.
Thank you, man.
It's sick, and yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I hope that we can have, elaborate on some of the conversations we mentioned, some faith and how your personal journey is unfolding, that sort of thing. I'm very curious, and I'm very keen to see how that goes. And yeah, thank you.
Hey, absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I didn't really know what to expect when you reached out like a while ago, but I'm very, very glad I said yes. I think this is an awesome discussion. Yeah, I loved it, man. It's good.
Awesome. I shall stop the cameras. Now let's pretend.
Please check out the description of this video with more information on the guests, connect with them and myself if you're interested in discuss topics.